She found the idea relaxing. Mona slumped back into her seat and massaged her neck. Her nearest neighbor was across the aisle. He resembled a giant toad. "You can't escape. We need to talk." Was she escaping? She wondered, smiling to herself as she cracked the seal on a miniature bottle of Stoli. Entering through her earphones, Mina's Malattia, Il Capolavoro collection, second part, coursed through her body, the sound disseminating like an additional narcotic. Her phone was calm now, a sleeping animal. Even if a few messages continued buzzing in her head, the switch to airplane mode had begun to have its soothing effect. One explanation, she reasoned, was that madness had overtaken her. But it wasn't such a clear-cut case. Her sensei, the chair of the Department of Romance and Ibero-American Literatures, knew exactly where she'd gone. And she was still in touch with her students, or at least with Raoul, her favorite, who'd written to find out how she was doing. He told her that her behavior, a professor who considered her a threat had called it her disappearance, was considered inexplicable. She knew her sensei had written her too, but she'd given up on her Stanford inbox, which was filling with reminders of her obligations as a foreigner in the United States. Instead, she set it to auto-reply. "I won't be reading emails for a while." Not reading emails, in the heart of Silicon Valley, was tantamount to declaring oneself dead. The truth, or rather, what she told herself at the time was the truth, was that she'd started writing one of those terrifying, brilliant, and dangerous books. A mantis lying in wait for its prey, half camouflaged by its own beauty, poised to attack. And now the book was starting to eat her alive. Mona had arrived at Stanford not long after the waves she made with her debut novel tossed her onto the beach of a certain impetuous prestige, and at a time when being a woman of color in the vade-mecum of American racism began to confer a chic sort of cultural capital. American universities shared certain essential values with historic zoos, where diversity was a mark of attraction and distinction. By playing the part of an overeducated Latina adrift in Trump's America, Mona experienced academic captivity as a sort of serene freedom. North American universities asked all doctoral candidates, upon application, to reveal their ethnicity. Mona had clicked Hispanic, Indigenous, and typed Inca in the box underneath. This was Silicon Valley, right? She might as well try to lean in. Anchoring her identity to a brutal and exquisite empire about which so little was known would provide her with an ideal costume for the university's tribal masquerade. She'd been born in Peru, but claiming indigenous ancestry in any other context would have been outrageous, much like calling herself a person of color any time prior to her arrival in the United States. There was a niche sort of glamour to it, like being a rare specimen of an endangered species, as though her mysterious DNA were a tiara encrusted with rare pearls, and the universities each a massive ark navigating the great flood of the United States, heroically fulfilling their mission to save two of each beast. Strictly speaking, Mona preferred to think of herself as more of a mermaid, that cross between the fantastic and the inexplicable, whose true habitat was beneath the waterline, among the drowned. She couldn't help feeling like an outside observer, a mermaid tourist. Anyway, the whole charade was just a bizarre exercise in academic bureaucracy, and besides that, the selection of a racial subtype for Hispanic was obligatory. Mona's identitarian fantasy was quite well received on campus. It related to her research topic, and offered her the opportunity to advance her career merely by being herself, as much herself as humanly possible. Later, she realized it would have been even more advantageous to add on some kind of physical disability, a slight but evident defect. But nobody's perfect. Even so, Mona enjoyed a unique advantage on campus. Her intellectual pedigree was well established by the time she arrived. The August critic Jorge Rufini had called her debut novel a radical phenomenon in a Cuban cultural journal of distinction, the literary Chanel of the Latin American left. The journal retained an indelible sophistication for having been founded by Fidel Castro as a cultural arm of the Cuban Revolution. Mona liked to imagine the back issues stacking.